Hello and welcome to In the House, your current affairs program about Parliament. Today we're going to just do a general overview of how the budget is sitting with some of our parliamentarians. We have one from the majority side and one from the minority side. Before that, we'll do a review of what's been happening in Parliament over the last few weeks since Parliament will be wrapping up. If you're interested in letting us know how you feel or what you're thinking about what the panelists will say, you can send us text to our short code. It's 1403. That's 1403. And you can send anything. The only thing is you must be decorous about it. If you're interested in sponsoring, you can call us on 0289 531 852. That's 0289 531 852. We'll be happy to get your sponsorship. When we come back, you'll meet the panelists and we'll discuss the budget. Welcome back. If you just joined us, this is In the House, your current affairs program about Parliament. Today I have on the panel two members. One, the Honourable Member from Keta, the Honourable Richard Quarshigah. Honourable, you're welcome.
Thank you very much.
The other, the Honourable Member representing Krabuakota. I hope I got that right.
That would be Ayeh-Paye.
Why did I think Krabuakota?
That's the capital.
You see, I keep mixing this. Yeah. Forgive me. The Honourable Samuel Ayeh-Paye. Honourable, you're welcome.
Thank you, my brother.
General overview for the last few weeks. You're wrapping up in Parliament. Your general overview for the last few weeks that you've been sitting. I'll start with you.
Thank you very much. To encapsulate all that we've done in a sentence, one would say that, of course, we've been able to pass a number of bills, and therefore, but significant among all the work that we've done is the 2.5% increase in VAT. That obviously was to take care of the deficits that we suffered in 2013. Clearly, a lot of resources were needed, as it were, to meet the wage bill, and that actually generated a lot of overruns, which affected infrastructural development, and therefore the increase in the VAT became extremely very necessary, and that is to forestall for the shortfall of infrastructure in 2014 as we journey along. And so I would say that apart from the many bills that or legislations that took place during the meeting, the most significant was the passage of the 2.5 bill. Okay. And the amendments that were proposed to the what was the name? Oh my God.
The amendments for the bills.
The amendment for the
budget.
The VAT bill.
The VAT bill.
Yeah, the amendment, the VAT Act.
Right.
The amendments proposed to the VAT Act to make it more potent and more effective, and also we also saw, for instance, the passage of the ZTE bill, that's the GOTA, which is supposed to, as it were.
That was a controversial one. You guys got phones.
Well, I mean, those are security phones. They are not the normal phones that you can talk about.
That was not the message we were given.
Yeah.
The understanding was that you guys did it almost as if it comes with the package.
Oh, not at all.
As if you are supposed to have it. It's almost like a thank you type of.
Now, I think the first phase of that particular project.
I didn't want to use the word bribe.
No, I mean, clearly not was a bribe, and I think that was explained by the leadership of Parliament.
But is it acceptable, and I'll come to the Honourable on this particular matter, but is it acceptable for parliamentarians to be receiving those types of things?
No, I mean, clearly this was a security gadget which will enable members to, as it were, interface with one another very easily, and also.
But you buy your own phones.
No, those are our normal phones. Cannot do that. How do you communicate with all MPs at the same time?
Yes, you can.
Yeah. I think let me first say
yes,
hello to
yes again. Yeah.
Especially those in Ayeh-Paye and the Ayeh-Paye district. Yeah. My brother, this issue came out, and at times I don't blame the general public and the media for some of those things. I put the blame right on the footstep of the parliamentary service. I'm talking about the the PRO of Parliament. Right. That should come out and explain some of these things to Ghana for them to understand. What's happening is that this is a loan agreement that comes with a package. Like when the loan is passed, it means the company that is coming to supply security phones not to Parliament alone, but other institutions, including the police, the Parliament, Judicial Service, the executives, and the National Security and Co. So when the agreement came, first there was some problem with it. There's a difference between dismissing a loan agreement and also referral. When the loan agreement comes to Parliament and there's a problem with it, we can refer it to the Ministry for Correction and bring it back. And then we have a loan agreement that will come. Then we have outright dismissal. This is not what happened. When the loan agreement came, we found out some challenges with it, and we asked the minister to withdraw, do the correction, and delay. So when the whole thing was withdrawn, I don't know what came into the mind of those who are coming with the contract. Instead of them to wait, bring the agreement for us to pass it before hours. Because if you read the details of the document,
so what you're saying is that instead of waiting and then the
Parliament is a beneficiary of the program. Whether we pass it before they give it to us or they give it to us before we pass it, at the end of the day, we're going to receive the funds. So instead of them to wait for us to pass the agreement, after we've looked at it, we refer it to them to do the correction and bring it back. When they did the correction, they were bringing it back. They came with the funds. As a matter of fact, some of the members, some of us, we've been sat down and passed before we heard that ours had been brought. The mobile phones came when we were on recess. So I quite remember I had a call that we have some phones we have to pick. I came here and that phone was given to me. It is a security phone, and that phone will not cost more than 100 Ghana cedis. And the question is, if I would take bribe, of which I will never do, to pass a multi-million-dollar loan for a company, well, my gentleman, my brother here would take 100 Ghana cedi loan, a bribe to pass $1 million loan agreement? It's definitely no. No member of Parliament.
So then it means that you didn't do a good job of protecting yourselves as far as but then it means that you could have also stopped the phones from coming till after you had dealt with it. But that's not going to be the focus of our. And I think that the explanation is quite good for you.
It is difficult to.
I want us to wrap up because
it is not actually.
Since the time is almost up, let's go to your overview of this.
Well, this part initially was a bit dark.
Sorry I cut you short, but that issue came in and
yes. It started as a very slow Parliament, that activities weren't much. But mid to the end of it, we saw a lot of activities. Loan agreement came to Parliament. That specifically tied to my committee was the $100 million loan for the Tamale International Airport, and also that of the expansion.
Your committee is which committee?
Transport, Rules and Transport Committee. And also the expansion of Takrady Harbour, of which sword was cut recently. We also passed a number of bills. Some are still at the consideration stage. For instance, we have the Plant Breeders Bill. Just recently, the amendment of PNDC Law 111, that is interstate succession law, has also been laid. And we are also going to consider that. So we've done a lot of job this term. As I said, a number of bills have been passed. Others are still in the process. We consider a number of loans. And then this budget too. My brother made mention of the taxes. Not only that, we've passed special levies and then the amendment of the VAT also, in which the money said is going to the infrastructure fund. I have my own reservation in terms of infrastructure fund. If you want to,
we're going to go into the details of
that.
Yes,
if you want
in the budget discussion.
Yes. So in the budget discussion, we'll come there because I have my own reservations there. So in fact, we've done a lot. And then yesterday, for instance, we left here around 7 p.m. And
yesterday,
today,
as in Monday, the 15th.
Yeah, 15th. Normally we don't sit on Monday, but looking at the workload, and I think we have to go on. We rise on tomorrow, so definitely we have to clear all the backlog before we definitely go home tomorrow. So a lot of things are being done.
Well, what we'll do is that, those were just your general comments. Yes, what we'll do is that we'll go, take a break. When we come back, we'll be talking specifically about the budget that's been, right now is in the appropriation stage, not so? Yeah. Yes, and so we'll do that one, but they're going to give us their views on the budget and maybe specific areas that they are interested in. Stay tuned. Welcome back. If you just joined us, this is In the House, your current affairs program about Parliament. Today we're looking at the budget, and our panelists are the Honourable Member representing Keta, the Honourable Richard Quarshigah, and the Honourable Member representing Ayeh-Paye. I almost said Krabwe again. Ayeh-Paye, the Honourable Ayeh-Paye. Honourables, Honourable Ayeh-Paye, I'll start with you.
Yeah.
This budget, it was a good budget. Is that your view?
Well, I would
The budget
say,
for 2014.
Yeah, I would say no, and I just want to say no because I don't want a situation that will say, oh, it's because it's coming from the government that I am in opposition, so it's not a good budget. Why is it not a good budget? You see, I don't want a situation where at a point in time we are going to look at the budget passage and the consideration as an economic exercise. So as a government, it's important for us to look at what we can do within the year and prepare ourselves to meet that. So when we have a budget which is not loaded, budget that is specific, budget that will go and address specific issues, and then we deal with it, we 100% execute the budget. Then the next year you look at it, then bit by bit we are developing the country. If you look at the 2013 budget and see at what we've been able to do as a country, considering the 2013 budget, and look at what we have projected to do in 2014, you ask yourself, are we doing this simply because we think we have to pass budget at the end of the year, so we have to do it? The answer is simply no. Because I'm saying this because if you look at leases and what the 2013 budget have been able to do, I don't think we have to load the next budget. We must rather concentrate on the unfinished business that the 2013 budget wasn't able to do.
So your general view is that
we'll move forward and see what we can do again, than to load the budget, present it as if a whole lot of things are going to. At the end of the day, then government will keep on crying.
So you're saying that the
no
budget
money.
is generally overloaded, and that the previous one hasn't even been
The
properly
no money
fulfilled?
syndrome,
Well,
no money syndrome is hitting all the sectors.
2013,
nothing significantly was done, and we are loading another budget to, as if that is not enough, to add to the unfinished business of 2013.
Your opposition, let's hear what the government side says. What exactly is in the budget that pleases you? Your general view, and then we zero in on
thank you very much.
And if you feel like in your process you're going to respond to some of these things.
I think that is very appropriate to put things in their proper perspective.
Very well.
And it doesn't surprise me that my colleague will not see anything good with this budget, because
he said don't talk like that.
there have never been a time that my colleagues on the other side have ever seen anything good in a budget presented by a government that is led by the NDC, and vice versa has been the case. And I think that probably we will have to move away from that partisan posture and tend to look at things from a more nationalistic and objective view. Now, if you ask my perspective, I would honestly say that this budget, which has been christened Rising to the Challenge, realigning the budget to meet key national priorities, is a very realistic budget, very visionary in outlook, and having done a critical analysis of the challenges of 2013, having taken the necessary bold steps, strategic steps, as it were, to deal with the deficits of 2013, I think that it's very apt document to talk about. Now, you see, if my colleague talk about this document being loaded, then it will sound as though you are not in tune with the kind of budget that we're dealing with. We used to deal with activity-based budget. The 2013 budget was an activity-based budget, but this particular budget, which we've all been well informed of, is a program-based budget.
Can we deal with that particular portion? What is an activity-based budget and a program-based budget?
An activity-based budget obviously focuses on the various activities that have been fleshed out in the budget to be carried out.
For example?
Yeah, for example, we are going to construct the Asenkagra Road, etc. That's
an activity.
That's an activity. And then the focus is on the activity, precisely. But then what we're looking at, which is a program-based budget, is looking at the outcomes of a program. And the program obviously will be pregnant with series of activities.
Example?
For example, we can talk about, finishing a number of road projects within a certain timeline, maybe in 2-3 years. So you find out in this budget that though it is an annual budget, it also make projections against 2015, 2016, and even 2017. Because
just a sec. Does that mean that if, for example, the Quarshigah Road is going to cost 10 cedis over 3 years, you are discussing the first 4 cedis this year, you are suggesting to Parliament that over the next 2 years you spend
the projections
6 more cedis.
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
what you're saying.
The projections for the next two years. Okay, and that obviously, is going to focus on what are going to be the outcomes of 2014, because you intend to spend 4 cedis on this particular project, for 2014, and maybe 6 cedis on 2016, 2015, and 2016. So at the end of the day, you are looking at the outcomes, the results, and that is what this budget is about. And the reason for which it may appear, to some as a very loaded budget, but that notwithstanding, it also takes care of the shortfalls of 2013. Some of the projects, some of the activities that ought to be done in 2013, for instance, dams, irrigation projects that were supposed to be undertaken in 2013 that have not been done, have all been captured in this budget. The reason for which it talks about realigning to meeting the national priorities.
Okay. Now quickly, just for viewers, if you've been hearing a bell sounding, it is part of Parliament's activities. It's a culture in Parliament. They're rallying all the MPs to come into the chamber because they want to start. And also it will identify that the Speaker is about to enter the chamber. So don't be disturbed by it. We've actually brought you live to Parliament. And then to you again, and this time a little shorter time for you, your specific issue within the budget that excites you.
Yeah, what excites me a lot about this budget, which makes it very realistic, is the talk about the Ghana Infrastructure Fund, which is a fund that will pour resources into it, specifically for development projects. And that will create indirectly job for a lot of young people who are currently unemployed, and that will also stimulate a growth in the infrastructural arena. Clearly, it will talk about more roads. It will talk about potable water, moving to the nook and cranny of our society. It will also, as it were, talk about, addressing the housing deficit and all that, And again, it's another aspect is the package for the small scales business people, the SMEs. The fund has been created for them, and that also tells you that without necessarily mentioning it directly, this budget is private sector driven. What it means is that it's giving muscle to the private sector, as it were, to galvanize their activities. And also the fact that, the poultry farmers, and people who are going to, import products for the educational sector and etc., are getting some stimulus package, are all very good news. And these clearly are, very effective approaches, as it were, to address the kind of challenges that we have.
Honorable Ayeh-Paye, there's some good news there. Small-scale enterprises are going to be looking very good. Infrastructure is going to be in the right direction, so to speak. After all, you'll have a fund, and it will be channeling to meet all our needs in a structured form.
Then before I start,
let me
go back on the difference between the activity-based and the program-based budget.
Okay.
We've all done sets in school, in mathematics. A set of activities make one program. So let me take a very typical example on education. For instance, if the government says that we are going to increase the percentage passed from BEC, that is junior high school to senior high school, from say 50% to 60%, that is a program. That what activities that should be performed so that at the end of 2014, instead of having 50% pass from junior high school to senior high school, we are going to have 60%. The activities one, provision of exercise book free of charge to students, provision of chalk, payment of capitation grant. These are the activities that should be performed. Construction of school buildings, that is removing school sanitaries. These are all activities that will achieve the program of the government. So if in the previous year, it is activities coming together. You can study the program-based budget to know that if I have 10 programs, and averagely, every program we have about 5 activities, times 10 will give you 50 activities. So you can easily look at it and see that, oh, this budget is loaded.
But the difference between your description is, there's a bit of a difference.
It's the same. It's the same. Yes.
Because he referred to the timeline.
But
you're not referring to timeline.
I meant the timeline. I said by the end of 2013. It can be by the end of 2014. It can be by the end of 2015. So the program will run, the activities will run up to 20.
Right.
I said about the end of 2014. Because I was trying to consider this budget. Example. It can go to 2014, it can go to 2016. But my point is that if indeed we have a program to make sure that we increase number of people that enter senior high school from junior high school by 60%, and 2013, capitation grant, first, second, third quarter didn't go, the activities is not performed.
Where are you heading to? Because
what I'm heading to, yes, is I want to prove that we have unfinished business.
But how does that? I mean, we're looking at a new budget.
That is where most Ghanaians don't understand.
We're looking at a new budget. When we're talking
about budget, it is the estimate. That is why if you look at the activities, you look at the performance from 2013, then projection 2014. So budget is not about what we are going to do in 2014. It is looking at what we have been able to do and in 2013 and our projections in 2014. That is budget. You don't look at the budget. For instance, the Ministry of Roads and Highways came to the committee. They came with their projections in 2014. We couldn't consider their estimate. We asked them to go back, bring what they've been able to do, projections, what we vote for them, what the releases they've been able to get. If, for instance, a ministry come out and item 2, only 7.2% had been released for item 2 for the whole 2013. And then you increase item 2 by 20%, saying that we are going to do a lot in 2014. Definitely, it's academic exercise. Just count them. All this fund, the common fund, are in arrest. Common fund is arrest for 2 years.
So this is that you disagree with him. You're just worried that
the management is
common fund. Sorry. Can I make that correction? Common fund is not in arrest 2 years. I mean, if
I didn't say 2 years.
Yeah, you mentioned 2 years. If you say 2 quarters.
2 quarters. 1 term referring to 1 quarter.
Yeah, so, yeah, just to...
So 2 quarters. What I want to arrive at is...
6 months.
Yeah, that's, 2 6 months.
What I want to arrive at is there's this say in account. There's a more we have the debt fund which is in arrest for 3 quarters. We have the common fund which is in arrest for 2 quarters. We have the National Health Insurance Fund which is in arrest for 3 quarters.
I mean,
and you haven't put money into this account, and you are
creating another one. 2 quarters, not 3 quarters.
Even if it is 2 quarters each, let me grant you.
But is it the same thing as this investment?
Exactly.
Is it?
The difference is this. No, it's the same. What is happening?
Why is it the
same? Deduction.
Now,
will you wrap up? You see, what we're talking about fund. For instance, the common fund. Whatever revenue the government will be able to mobilize at the end of the day, a percentage should be taken at source into the common fund before the rest goes into the consolidated fund. The infrastructure fund you're talking about is the same thing. When government mobilizes the money from the revenue, all the resources, take 2.5% from the VAT that you take, send it to infrastructure fund, and the rest go to the consolidated fund. So if at the end of the day, government take the money, let's say first quarter, the money has come, it's so much, percentage is not calculated, percentage did not go to common fund, everything pushed into the consolidated fund and used, common fund comes into arrest. It's even illegal. The appropriation bill becomes an act, and government must go by the acts.
Yeah, well, I think I will disagree with a lot of the issues that he's raised. Just to put issues in perspective, of course, yes, there's some of the statutory funds are in arrears for 2 quarters. That is, there's no denying those. But you see, what created those shortfalls? It was because we never anticipated that workers were going to make demands for market premiums and all these premiums and allowances that workers agitated for.
Wasn't that automatic, considering that you were going to implement the SSS, the single side spine?
Yeah, but we all are witnesses in this country that talking about the single spine. Like the doctors, the doctors, came up with some calculations of theirs. Some decided to go to court. Court granted
the leave of, upheld their demands and etc. Government was compelled to look for money to pay these. Where is government going to get the monies? Clearly, if that has become the case, the wage bill would have to be looked at first. Naturally, because if workers are saying they're not going to work, they're going to pour onto the streets until you give them certain demands. And the demands are not even their salaries, but then some extra. The government will have to take off that. Other than that, the whole system grinds to a halt. And so the reason for which these statutory funds were in arrears. Other than that, we will not have a situation where the statutory funds will be in arrears. But then we're saying that in the effort to realign all these, in relation to national priorities, government has decided, to increase value-added tax by 2.5%. And the 2.5%, we are told, will go straight into the infrastructure fund. And what it means, therefore, is that we can be assured that those funds, will be targeted, are specifically targeted. And that is what it all means.
Well,
and you see...
Honorable, let me cut you here. We'll take a quick break. When we come back, we'll continue on the same point. Stay tuned. Welcome back. If you just joined us, this is In the House, your current affairs program about Parliament. We've been discussing the budget. We've looked at the Honorable Quarshigah's view on the budget, which he's going to wrap up on. Because
thank you very much. And so these are the reasons for the overruns, and again also deficits as far as the statutory funds are concerned. Now, one of the steps that I'm taking in this budget to forestall that is getting some agencies, government agencies that subsist on the consolidated fund to now pay themselves, because they are able to actually pay themselves. I'm a member of the Public Accounts Committee, for instance. We made some of these recommendations, and we're very excited that it's taken on board by government. In that, when you take, for instance, Ghana Standards Authority, they are able to generate enough revenue in IGF, to more than 6 times how much they even take from government. So why must they continue to take money from government when they have surplus in their accounts? And a number of agencies, as it were, have been taken off government, the consolidated fund, and that in itself gives relief, to government to really be able to meet some of these statutory obligations. And so 2014 obviously has a very good outlook, and the reason for which I said it is a very analytic, visionary, realistic budget. And when we want to go into the nitty-gritties of all these.
Well, your views that way, but more specifically, this matter of, the Honorable Ayeh-Paye raised the matter of this new fund at the board, the infrastructure fund. It's like all these other funds, and they are all going to be taken care of.
No, that's what I'm trying to explain. That you see, with the issue when we had a challenge with wage bill as a result of the
but I'm saying that what's the difference between that one? That part I understood.
Yes.
What's the difference between these new funds and all these other funds? It's very different.
Yeah, you see the difference. Of course, it is this fund. There's no law backing it yet. It will come before the House, Parliament, with the legislation and all that will be done. And clearly, it will be fenced in such a manner that you cannot just touch it. It's just like the Heritage Fund, the oil proceeds, the ones we put aside. You can't just touch it because the law will not permit you. And clearly, the law will be fashioned in such a manner that no matter what the situation is, you can't just take that money for purposes that are not intended for that particular purpose.
So there's a difference. Well, let's move forward and get into
it. Just before,
you can slip
just before I move on, let me do something about it. You see, if you look at the estimate that came to Parliament, the NDC outside will say that, oh yes, because of the huge bill that was expected as a result of the stimulus fine, we've got some big amount that we have to pay. That is why we're not able to take money into the other funds, the necessary funds that we have. But the question is, if you look at the estimate that they've got across the ministries, all the ministries have their item 2, that is goods and services, reduced not less than 50%. It means the money that is meant for goods and services were pushed to item 1 to compensate for that increase. So how come there was no money
into the statutory fund, because whether if the increment in item 1 did not come, that money will definitely go to item 2. Item 1 got increased. That is why
you may be confusing. Sorry to barge in. He may be confusing viewers out there with the fact that item 1, money is moved from item 2 to item 1, so therefore there should not be any shortfalls or overruns. The fact is that when we look at 2013's budget, the allocated funds for all the sector ministries, shot up astronomically. What it means, therefore, is that government had to find more money.
Maybe you understand.
Government has to find more money for those sectors.
If you have 3 children, right? The first one in university, the second in senior high, and the third in JSS. Your expectation, as you work by your finances, at the end of the year, you couldn't meet it. Then you call the children and say, you are the primary school, wait, I'm going to reduce your pocket money by 50%. You at JSS, yes, I'm going to reduce your pocket money by 50% and add it to your senior products in university. So as soon as you get out, then you also take charge. The 2 of you, my resources can take good care of you. And the children agree. Then you go and tell your wife that because of this adjustment that I've made, I cannot give you, the wife, what I'm supposed to give you. The wife will not understand, because at the end of the day, it is the quantum of money that should go to the house that you have reduced from 1, 2 to the 10. That's not what they did.
No, that's clearly misleading.
No, it is not.
Very misleading.
Go and take the estimate, and you will see it.
There's one small technicality that even I know. What is item 1?
Item 1 is salaries and emoluments that you cannot do away with, because at the end of it, you have to pay the workers. So that one, no government will attempt reducing item 1. Item 2 is goods and services. That is the money that is given to the ministry. For instance, you go to the Ministry of Agriculture. Item 1 is their salaries and emoluments. Item 2 are what they used to buy fuel, what they used to maintain their vehicles, they used to buy stationery, they do for monitoring allowances, and those things are item 2. Item 3 is for investment. So if you look critically to the estimate, you can see in all the estimate that item 2 and 3 have been reduced. Some of the ministries did not get anything for item 3. It means they are not going to.
You see, the reason why I just want to demonstrate.
There's one big thing I need to point out. We need to hear your
my selected area.
Yeah, but it will be distorting if because you see what he's saying is not true. Because 2013, what I'm saying, just look at it. 2013, this is 2013.
What is not true? What is item 1 and
item 1 and item 2 that they move money from item. Yes, you see, this is 2013 budget for Western Housing. Now, this is how much was voted by government for them: 86,074,607 Ghana cedis. But at the end of the day, the monies that government had to release to that particular sector was 162,737,111. The variance is 183%. Are you getting the point? And that tells you clearly that though this is how much we voted in Parliament for this particular sector, as a result of the numerous activities they ought to undertake during the period, they needed 183% extra
this
to work.
Let me explain my point. Look at compensation of employees. That is item 1. They are supposed to have 19,651,771 Ghana cedis. They have 21,723,130. Increase of 10.5%. But let me finish. It means item 1 has shot up to 10.5%. So when they came to item 2, they requested 805,566. Because this has shot up, they did not release this. They released only 63,870, making 7.9%. So this loss here has gone to compensate for this.
But look at assets.
No money in the statutory
no, look at assets. Look at it. Assets. Assets was 65,617,270. And it has shown the 140,000.
You know the calculation.
Which is a variance of 215%. So clearly,
has compensated.
Clearly, at the end of the day, government has spent far more money than Parliament voted for this sector. And that is the overruns.
In order for us to progress, I'll submit to one thing. This is one technicality I have no knowledge about. So let us go into the matter of your interest in?
My interest.
And maybe one day we can bring you back to
yes, exactly.
this is something that's
my interest is the roads and transport sector and the agriculture and education. You see, we look at the budget, and for instance, road sector, a number of road constructions from the donor side, and at times it's difficult having the counterpart funding to get some of these projects done. So this year, yes, the government has promised going to have some of these constructions from the donor point of view and all that. But the most important thing is the counterpart funding, which government should have money to do. This year, for instance, the Ministry of Roads and Highways is telling us that they have only 42% of the total road network being good. It means 58% of our road is in a very bad situation. So the government is going to concentrate on road maintenance to make sure that they increase the good road from 42%. But the question is, what caused the increase in the percentage of bad roads in the country? Because the government was not releasing funds, especially to feeder roads. If you look at the estimate, feeder roads had very little money that they were not able to do reshaping, the annual reshaping that they do. And feeder roads take a chunk of road network that we have in this country, as compared to that of highways and then urban roads. So at the end of the day, if you don't do the reshaping, if it's an annual reshaping, it means every year they do the reshaping twice. Now they change it to annual. That's 1 year of reshaping. Some of these roads in our constituencies for 2-3 years I've not seen any reshaping, no spot improvement, and it is getting, when you leave your roads unmaintained by cutting of the grasses, clearing of drains, water get access to the main road surface, it causes damage to the road. So the ministry this year, we sat at the committee level, we asked them that they should make sure that instead of adding the number of roads, the length of new roads, they should rather go to maintenance. So it is my prayer that this time around they will concentrate on maintenance of road and get a road maintained for us.
What's so the budget saying about that?
Just the budget, the money has been, my worry is that the money has been voted. The budget, that section has been loaded. But looking at the previous records, are we going to have money to do that? Let's wait and see.
If I'm listening to you clearly,
yeah.
The problem is not that the budget hasn't noticed the problem.
Exactly.
Is that it? In other words, the budget has catered for your.
It has taken care of that. The budget has but the problem is, if you look at what happened in 2030 and what they are intend to do, there's no way this budget could be implemented. And by the end of 20,
we have to wait.
Yeah, just
that is exactly what we are doing. You have to wait and see.
Let me help my colleague.
Oh, you want to help him?
Yes, because for instance, I tend to agree with some of the things he said about the road sector.
Such as?
For instance, the maintenance. Because obviously, if we have only 42% of good roads, there's the need for us to ensure that we continually maintain what we have, rather than focusing on constructing new roads, leaving those we have to deteriorate. Now, but the ministry itself, its planned agenda, they're looking for over 3 billion to carry out their activities.
Oh, this that we'll go, take a break. Stay tuned. Welcome back. If you just joined us, this is In the House, your current affairs program about Parliament. We've been discussing the budget. We've looked at the Honourable Quarshigah's view on the budget, which he's going to wrap up on because we didn't get to finish before the break. And then we'll look at the Honourable Ayeh-Paye. Honourable Quarshigah, you didn't finish your point.
Yeah, clearly. Thank you very much. And so these are the reasons for the overruns, and again also deficits as far as the statutory funds are concerned. Now, one of the steps that I'm taking in this budget to forestall that is getting some agencies, government agencies that subsist on the consolidated fund to now pay themselves, because they are able to actually pay themselves. I'm a member of the Public Accounts Committee, for instance. We made some of these recommendations and we're very excited that it's been taken on board by government, in that when you take, for instance, Ghana Standards Authority, they are able to generate enough revenue in IGF, to more than 6 times how much they even take from government. So why must they continue to take money from government when they have surplus in their accounts? And a number of agencies, as it were, have been taken off government, the consolidated fund,
And that in itself gives relief, to government to really be able to meet some of these statutory obligations. And so 2014 obviously has a very good outlook, and the reason for which I said it is a very analytic, visionary, realistic budget. And when we want to go into the nitty-gritties of all these,
well, you've used that word, but more specifically, this matter of, Ayeh-Paye raised the matter of this new fund at the order, the investment infrastructure fund, and all these other funds, and they are all not being taken care of.
That's what I'm trying to explain. Okay. That you see, with the issue when we had a challenge with wage bill as a result of the
but I'm saying that what's the difference between that one? That part I understood.
Yes.
What's the difference between these new funds and all these other funds? Is there a difference?
Yeah, you see the difference. Of course, it is this fund. There's no law backing it yet. It will come before the House, Parliament, with the legislation and all that will be done. And clearly, it will be fenced in such a manner that you cannot just touch it. It's just like the Heritage Fund, the oil proceeds, the ones we put aside. You can't just touch it because the law will not permit it. And clearly, the law will be fashioned in such a manner that no matter what the situation is, you can't just take that money for purposes that are not intended for that particular plan.
So there's a difference. Well, let's move forward and get into it.
Just
you can slip
just before I move on, let me do something about it. You see, if you look at the estimate that came to Parliament, the NDC outside will say that, oh yes, because of the huge bill that was expected as a result of the single spine, we've got some big amounts that we have to pay. That is why we're not able to take money into the other funds, the necessary funds that we have. But the question is, if you look at the estimate that they've got across the ministries, all the ministries have their item 2, that is goods and services, reduced not less than 50%. It means the money that is meant for goods and services were pushed to item 1 to compensate for that increase. So how come there was no money into the statutory fund? Because whether if the increment in item 1 did not come, that money will definitely go to item 2. Item 1 got increased. That is why
you may be confusing. Sorry to budget. He may be confusing viewers out there with the fact that item 1, money is moved from item 2 to item 1, so therefore there should not be any shortfalls or overruns. The fact is that when we look at 2013's budget, the allocated funds for all the sector ministries, shot up astronomically. What it means, therefore, is that government had to find more money. Government have to find more money for those sectors.
If you have 3 children, right? The first one in university, the second in senior high, the third in JSS. Your expectation as you work by your finances at the end of the year you couldn't meet it. Then you call the children and say, you are the primary school, wait, I'm going to reduce your pocket money by 50%. You at JSS, yes, I'm going to reduce your pocket money by 50% and add it to your senior brother who's in university. So as soon as you get out, then you also take charge. The 2 of you, my resources can take good care of you. And the children agree. Then you go and tell your wife that because of this adjustment that I've made, I cannot give you, the wife, what I'm supposed to give you. The wife will not understand. Because at the end of the day, it is the quantum of money that should go to the house that we have reduced from 1, 2 to the 3rd. That's exactly what they did.
No, that's clearly misleading.
No, it is not.
Very misleading.
Go and take the estimate, and you will see it.
There's one small technicality that even I am confused about. What is item 1?
Item 1 is salaries and emoluments that you cannot do away with, because at the end of it, you have to pay the workers. So that one, no government will attempt reducing item 1. Item 2 is goods and services. That is the money that is given to the ministry. For instance, you go to the Ministry of Agriculture. Item 1 is their salaries and emoluments. Item 2 are what they use to buy fuel, what they use to maintain their vehicles. They use to buy stations. They will do for monitoring allowances, and those things are item 2. Item 3 is for investment. So if you look physically to the estimate, you can see in all the estimate that item 2 and 3 have been reduced. Some of the ministries did not get anything for item 3. It means they are not going to.
You see, the reason why I just want to demonstrate.
There's one big thing I need to point out. We need to hear your
my selected area.
Yeah, but it will be distorting if because you see what he's saying is not true. Because 2013, what I'm saying, just look at it. 2013, this is 2013.
What is not true? What is item 1 and
item 1 and item 2 that they move money from item. Yes, you see, this is 2013 budget from Western Housing. Now, this is how much was voted by government for them: 86,074,607 Ghana cedis. But at the end of the day, the monies that government had to release to that particular sector was 162,737,111. The variance is 183%. Are you getting the point? And that tells you clearly that though this is how much we voted in Parliament for this particular sector, as a result of the numerous activities they ought to undertake during the period, they needed 183% extra
this
to
man
work.
is a secondary. Let me explain what
I'm talking about.
Look at compensation of employees. That is item 1. They are supposed to have 19,651,771 Ghana cedis. They have 21,723,130. Increase of 10.5%. But let me finish. It means item 1 has shot up to 10.5%. So when they came to item 2, they requested 805,566. Because this has shot up, they did not release this. They released only 63,870, making 7.9%. So this loss here has gone to compensate for this.
But
so
look
why
at
there's
assets.
no money in the security
No, look at assets. Look at it. Assets. Assets was 65,000, 617,270. And it has shown the 140,000.
Do you know the calculation?
Which is a variance of 250%. So clearly,
has compensated for
clearly,
this.
at the end of the day, government has spent far more money than Parliament voted for this sector. And that is the overall
in order for us to progress, I'll submit to one thing. This is one technicality I have no knowledge about. So let us go into the matter of your interest.
My interest.
And maybe one day we can bring you back to
my interest is the roads and transport sector and the agriculture and education. You see, we look at the budget, and for instance, road sector, a lot of number of road constructions from the donor side, and at times it's difficult having the counterpart funding to get some of these projects done. So this year, yes, the government has promised going to have some of these constructions from the donor point of view and all that. But the most important thing is the counterpart funding, that which government should have money to do. This year, for instance, the Ministry of Roads and Highways is telling us that they have only 42% of the total road network being good. It means 58% of our road is in a very bad situation. So the government is going to concentrate on road maintenance to make sure that they increase the good road from 42%. But the question is, what caused the increase in the percentage of bad roads in the country? Because the government was not releasing funds, especially to feeder roads. If you look at the estimate, feeder roads had very little money that they were not able to do reshaping, the annual reshaping that they do. And feeder roads take a chunk of road network that we have in this country, as compared to that of highways and then urban roads. So at the end of the day, if you don't do the reshaping, it's an annual reshaping. It means every year they do the reshaping twice. Now they change it to annual. That's 1 year of reshaping. Some of these roads in our constituencies for 2-3 years have not seen any reshaping, no spot improvement, and it is getting, when you leave your roads unmaintained by cutting of the grasses, clearing of drains, water get access to the main road surface, it causes damage to the road. So the ministry this year, we sat at the committee level, we asked them that they should make sure that instead of adding the number of roads, the length of new roads, they should rather go to maintenance. So it is my prayer that this time around they will concentrate on maintenance of road and get a good maintained for us.
What's
so
the budget saying about that?
Yes, the budget, the money had been, my worry is that the money had been voted. The budget, that section had been loaded. But looking at the previous records, are we going to have money to do that? Let's wait and see.
If I'm listening to you clearly,
yeah.
The problem is not that the budget hasn't noticed your problem.
Exactly.
Is that it? In other words, the budget has catered for your
It has taken care of that. The budget has
but the problem is, if you look at what happened in 2013 and what they are intending to do, there's no way this budget could be implemented.
But
By the end of
don't we have to wait?
Yeah, just
that is exactly what you are doing. You
I
have to
think
wait
that,
and see.
let me help my colleague.
Oh, you want to help me?
Yes, because see, for instance, I tend to agree with some of the things he said about the road sector,
Such as?
for instance, the maintenance. Because obviously, if we have only 42% of good roads, there's the need for us to ensure that we continually maintain what we have, rather than focusing on constructing new roads, leaving those we have to deteriorate. Now, but the ministry itself, its planned agenda, they're looking for over 3 billion to carry out their activities. What it therefore means is that they can do just as much of all that they intend to do. And the reason for the work is that though there is a focus on ensuring maintenance of roads, there may be the likelihood of wanting to start some new road and then funds being diverted, to construct a new road rather than maintaining the existing road.
Are you happy with his comment? Do you agree with him?
There are portions of it that
bothered with the fact that yes, you might have dedicated a line on paper that says that 1 CD is going to solve this problem that you agree with him, but he doesn't think that 1 CD will come.
Yeah, he doesn't think that 1 CD necessarily will totally go to deal with that particular issue, because there are always tendencies of some pressures from somewhere for the construction of a certain road that probably also
But should that even become an issue if the dedication has been made? In other words, that 1 CD has been made, given to the situation. So should we be bothered about some ancillary thing that happens to come from some pressure point?
We must be worried, because what it therefore means is that would that be misapplication? It will only result in misapplication, where the money has been voted for, but it doesn't really.
So then in that case, then he's right?
No, that's why I'm saying that the reason why I wanted
okay. So he basically helped, even if he didn't help him.
Let me go to my next issue, sir. Budget of education. Okay. Right. Education, we have the capitation grant that was first initiated by the previous administration. The fact that we are going to release money to support basic education in terms of capitation grant. Capitation grant is in arrest for about 3 quarters. Teachers in the various headquarters that we have, I don't give you the benefit of that. God, the 3rd quarter is in the process. We haven't got to the point, and we're in the 4th quarter, so definitely in the 3 quarters. But if the 3rd quarter had been paid,
but if you say that, then you're trying to say that for this whole year, nothing has happened.
No, it has happened. Things have happened.
We have 4
because
quarters.
he just said that it's 2 quarters.
Yes.
And he makes the point that we
You
just
know
wrapped
why-
up on the 3rd quarter and going into the 4th.
No,
And the 3rd quarter
you know why he keeps
so
on.
which means that we've just about finished the year and nothing's
We are in the rest of 2 quarters because of, like I
You
said,
know why he
the
keeps on
wage
saying that 2 quarters, 2 quarters? The 2nd quarter, that when paid becomes arrest for 2 quarters, had been paid, but they haven't received it, and we are ending December. So the 3rd teacher is on vacation. He hasn't received the 2nd quarter payment. So he will tell you, 3rd quarter is arrest. So that let's not give you a bit of a doubt and say that 2 quarters is enough. 2 quarters in arrest. It means teachers are not going to buy job. No lesson notes for teachers.
that is untrue.
So that is what they use the capitation grant for. Those things have not been provided. In the battle, we were there when the committee report showed that exercise money meant for exercise were not released. Because of that, let me quickly jump to agriculture. You look at fertilizer subsidy, where we have a rainfall pattern. In a situation where, as a Greek minister, I stayed the rainfall pattern and lays your input aside. Today, this year, 2013, it is after the rain, but the fertilizer that has been subsidized were released. So we look at budget and people look at the projections alone. It is most untrue. It is true.
There were delays.
Exactly. I'm happy with that.
There were delays, yes.
So
but not
if
after
the
the
farmer,
they didn't release the money.
Definitely, we are
after
not
the
going
rains.
to get the necessary yield. So if you look at the budget, you see, budget is not what you budget for projections alone. It's about what you've been able to do for 2013 and the portfolio that you are holding to enter 2014. If you look at the debt portfolio, our rest that we have, definitely 2014 is not going to be enough. And it's difficult for the budget to be.
Well, I think that
the budget, by the way, for those who haven't had a chance to look at it, the budget is where? I was looking for the title.
The title is
Rising to the Challenge. Rising to the Challenge.
Realigning.
Rising to the Challenge. Realigning the budget to meet key national priorities.
Yeah.
I want to always, you can respond to this.
Yes.
I'll throw in a question.
Yeah.
I always wondered, why would a budget be themed to talk about budget, as opposed to talking about people's lives?
Yeah, of course, I think that what is a budget? They are all estimates, they are projections, as to the kinds of things that will be done to socially benefit the society or the target audience or market. So, to talk about budgeting in the theme is very appropriate. Yeah, it will not be surprising for anybody to notice the kind of leaps of advancement that we'll experience in 2014, because this document is very strategic in nature and obviously address the challenges that confront us.
I wish you had spoken last, because you are the majority side. But since you didn't, let's hear him.
Well, I don't see any hope in this project. Part of the question of going to my TV. If somebody who is naked wants to watch you, listening to the name is naked. This is the fifth budget that we have. The fifth budget in that administration of NBC done. And all the time they present loaded budgets, its implementation is nil. So there's nothing new.
Well, we're going
it's all the same. There's nothing new in this budget that is going to change the life of the American industry. Rather, they are going to tight the poor man on the streets down, dish their hand in the pocket, take the few that is left in his pocket, and that is the introduction of the infrastructure bill. That increase.
I hope you also add that taking off
that
number of taxes.
The VAT by 2.5%.
A number of taxes.
When you increase
11 of them. Eleven of the taxes are also being
the poor Ghanaian on the street and forcibly pick the little money that's left in his pocket out from
next year. What should we expect when you come back again? Given the budget is good, it helps you envisage what.
Yeah. We expect robust business.
No, let me ask you first. I wanted you to speak last. Yes.
Next year, what I'm expecting is that a debt portfolio of 53% for our GDP is pushing to 2014. What I'm expecting is that a common fund, which is in arrest for 2%, is pushing to 2014. Get fund, which is arrest for 2 quarters, is pushing to 2014. So there's no hope for 2014.
What's Parliament going to be like?
Yeah, Parliament is going to be very robust. Business in the House will start in earnest in 2014, in February, hopefully. And the expectation is that a number of bills will be passed. Of course, the Right Information Bill is also on the agenda. And in the same vein, we expect to pass a number of laws, including the infrastructure fund, which will be legalized, for us to be able to put money in there. So it's going to be, the Parliament is going to be very busy, and we will be working in the
30 seconds out.
In the interest of
what we would say for next year is that we hope to see you be doing more. Maybe you get to explain to us even in more depth what exactly you're talking about with regard to some of these technicalities that some of us don't know. We're going to be introducing, for example, a program called The Bill, which will actually take the public through the process of what a bill means to, so that when you talk to us about the right information, we'll understand. This has been In the House.
If you're interested in letting us know how you feel or what you're thinking,
Your views, their discussion points, and any other matter,
you can send us text. So our short code is 1403. That's 1403. And you can send anything.
program. You can call us on
On 0289 531 852. That's 0289 531 852.
the website that we'd like you to visit, www.mrspeakergh. That is www.mrspeakergh.com. There you can watch this program. You can also listen to the MPs on their various viewpoints. You can read a few other things about what they're doing and general news. We'll be happy to see you there. Till next time, have a nice day.